Hey everyone, welcome to the 2020 Toyota Corolla Hybrid. This is a car I've been fairly interested in for the purposes of testing out by itself, but then also in comparison to the new Honda Insight that I reviewed just about a month ago. This Toyota Corolla is brand new. We had the hatchback come out last year, but a hybrid isn't available in that specification. The Corolla is similar, but also trying to be different to the generations that came before it, and this hybrid is a first ever. So what we're going to do is take this car for a drive, and I'm going to share with you everything that I think you need to know about this compact car, and then at the end of the video I'll place it in my system against other compact cars, but also electrified and hybridized sedans as well. So this tiny little Corolla, it has a 1.4 litre engine with an electric motor and a nickel hydride battery pack. With all of those together, we're able to produce 121 horsepower. This engine and the combination of its electric motor gives enough get up and go where it doesn't feel like a slouch. It doesn't feel like the car is letting you down by not being powerful enough to merge onto the highway. It's the same power plant that you see in a lot of Toyota and Lexus hybrid models. Primarily though, the Prius that I tested out recently in the all-wheel drive specification. And I really do think that this Toyota is going to completely kill the reasoning into buying the Toyota Prius, the front-wheel drive version specifically, and perhaps that's why Toyota came out with that all-wheel drive system, to keep the Prius relevant against a car such as this and the Camry hybrid, which of course this car and the Camry can only be front-wheel drive. I'm going to touch upon some more reasons later, but let's get a few of the core things out of the way first with this Corolla. There's a couple weird things in this car. For one, you have a tach, which in so many other hybrid electric cars I come across, there is no tach as sort. It's always sort of like a dial showing when you're in the green electric mode or when you're using power. This has a traditional tach, 0 to 7,000 with a red line, and you'll often see it resting at 0 when the car is in its EV mode. Just a bit odd they didn't kill that entirely and make the central screen that's in here a little bit larger. Another odd detail with this Corolla is that down from your shift lever you have a B setting. Again, when you drive a lot of different electric vehicles, you'll find there's an additional regenerative braking system, one that's a little more powerful, a little more aggressive than the standard setup, but this isn't what this B represents. This is engine braking, not regenerative braking. I don't really know why you would want to put this car into an engine braking mode, as that will ignite the engine, and then that's going to take away some of the regenerative braking ability to put more electricity back into the battery pack. I don't really get that. All it's going to do is just impact your fuel economy for the worse. So why have you done it, Toyota? I'd love to know. One final detail is that you can change the brightness of the two screens and all the other dials that are in this car, but the light that you have indicating park, reverse, neutral, drive, brake can't be dimmed, and at night it is so bright it's distracting. Thankfully I can rest my leg in a way that covers that light. Honestly, it's annoying. Outside of those nitpicks, the overall driving experience of this Corolla is actually quite nice. The steering feels natural, not overly boosted, not totally disconnected from the road, where I feel like a lot of Toyotas in the past, especially in this sort of segment, feel like they have no communication with the front wheels. This actually feels quite good. The regenerative brakes in this car, you can really feel them at low speed. There's quite a bit of jerky motions. It's hard to modulate. I feel like the Insight felt like a more conventional braking system. This, I think you could put anybody into the front seat and make them drive around, and they would immediately say that the braking feels weird. The Corolla has a few different driving modes. You have the normal, eco, and power mode, of which you'll change around with this button here, and then you can try and force the car into an EV mode, but most of the time you're going too fast or the engine's too cold and it just doesn't really work out. I prefer to leave the car to its devices. And a typical hybrid CVT complaint is that when you're going up a hill and maybe you've got the cruise control set, or you're trying to demand a little more power out of that small engine, that 4-cylinder really makes a racket. It's far from refined. You can see a hill coming and wince in prediction, knowing that your car's gonna start to make a harsh noise again. Bit like what we're experiencing right now. But when you go back down the hill, it aggressively drops back into the EV mode. I would say that this car overall is noisier in comparison to the Honda Insight. The tires here give off a lot more road noise. This by far is the best feeling Toyota cabin I have come across recently. All of the buttons feel very rigid, nice to interact with. There's a fair amount of storage space. The interior has quite a good mix of upscale feeling materials, but then also a lot of economy driven materials as well. So we have a leather heated steering wheel, which is part of the $2,000 premium package. I'll talk about some of the other things that come into that package in a moment. Where I rest my elbows are very nicely padded. The seats are a leatherette. There's a few other soft points across the dashboard and on top of it as well, on the door cards too, but you'll find plenty of the harder stuff down below and in some of the places that you probably aren't going to reach out and touch all that frequently. A fair amount of black piano plastic. Certainly not terrible, but I think again the Honda Insight edges over this car ever so slightly and feeling like a more premium space. And you also feel like you sit lower in that vehicle with that console that comes up and above your knees. Feels like you're sitting down more into the car. And now the touchscreen offers CarPlay capability. No Android Auto currently for this vehicle, but the new 2020 Lexus RX is the first of the company's integration of Android Auto, so hopefully that means that it can also be retrofitted into cars like this in the future. Part of that premium package also includes the wireless phone charger that you have up above your heated seat buttons, the heated rear seats and leather-wrapped gear knob, and then finally some of the faintest ambient lighting you'll see in any car I've come across recently. Rear seats are a bit tight for passengers back there. They won't have much to play with, no USB outlets, no vents. Can fold down the middle sector of the seat where you'll have your armrest and cup holders. Trunk space is very good. It's fold 60/40. But take note of those exposed hinge arms that are going to impede on the boot space slightly, so just be cautious of them. And so that wraps up my thoughts of the Corolla, but again I wanted to touch on why I think this is a Prius killer. Comparing to that Prius that I just tested out, again that was the all-wheel drive version, but let's forget about that and think of it as strictly the front-wheel drive. This Corolla has a much nicer interior. The screens feel more modern. The lack of Apple CarPlay in the Prius but not in the Corolla, that might be a deal breaker to some people. It's a hell of a lot more discreet as well. The Prius has its very distinctive looks that some people like. I know I don't. I would much rather be seen driving a vehicle like this. And you don't have to overtly shout to the world that you're driving a hybrid. This is a car that really slips under the radar. Driving the Corolla, living with it, and if I was ever owning one of those two vehicles, I just feel like the overall experience would be better with this Corolla. And so that wraps up all of my thoughts regarding the 2020 Toyota Corolla Hybrid. This compact sedan is fantastic. I know I've been comparing it a lot against the Honda Insight, perhaps its most direct rival, and if it was my money, I would probably end up in that Honda. I think it's a nicer car to sit in, to drive for long distances. The screens have better, crisper graphics, but I really hope that isn't coming across as a slight to this Corolla. I think it's a fantastic car. It's perhaps the best Toyota I've driven recently. And I really do think that anybody that's out there considering a Prius, this is going to be the better, newer alternative. And so that's exactly why I think the Corolla Hybrid is a car that you should seriously consider owning. I'd love to test this car out in the hatchback version soon. That version, of course, can't come with the hybridized powertrain, but it can come with a larger 2-litre engine as well. So hopefully that will happen in the next few months. But thank you to everyone that's watched this video. Please like it if you liked it, and share it if you think other people like it too. And if you want to do me the biggest favor in the world, hit that subscribe button just down below. Thanks again for watching. Hope to see you again soon.